And here we go.
Sports!
I listen to you guys all the time.
It's awesome.
I'm in the mood for one of your classic anecdotes.
Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, that's enough.
Hey guys, there is someone I want you to meet.
Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun on Off the Hook Sports. Represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net.
We're all part of the same team here.
Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Well, we all knew it would be a tall order for ETSU versus Tennessee today. Much taller than comedian Kevin Hart was on the sidelines. I don't know if you saw that. His son being recruited by Tennessee's track and field team. And ETSU really had no chance. We knew that going into the game as the Vols are victorious 72-17. Let me get to our rundown. Takeaways from the team. They probably all happened in the first quarter. Caleb was in charge of that. Turning points, torchbearers, the report card, and also why this Tennessee offense is not just rebuilt or reloaded, whatever the term is that you might want to use. It's just simply better. And you can read that on GoVolsExtra.com here momentarily. So let's dive into it. Let me get your initial take, Caleb. This is about what we expected. We don't always expect 72 points on the board. That used to be pretty rare, but we know that nowadays coaches like to make an impression, not necessarily for voters like back in the day, but you like to make an impression in recruiting. And Josh Heupel is probably up towards the 10% of coaches that would like to do that. You know, Bill Belichick's probably the type that would sit on a 42-10 lead and be okay with it. That's not the way Josh Heupel is. And I no longer question the gamesmanship of it or the sportsmanship of it, especially when you run an offense like Heupel. I think you want to go out there and make sure your second and third stringers are ready to go. So I got no problem with it whatsoever. 72-17 is your final. I do hope that there's a day that it's more like the NFL where you play 12 tough games, essentially, and maybe 8 or 9 get you into a college football playoff, and we see better matchups throughout the season. But that's where we are with college football, and I think a lot of fans enjoy the fact that you're able to go out there and score a lot of points and have a good time. So, Caleb, how are you, sir? Oh, Caleb, I can't hear you. Why don't you unmute your mic?
What a rookie move by me. What a rookie move by me.
Yeah,
I'm doing well, and I'm doing even better, and I love the running up the score because I just want to point out that last touchdown, it helped Tennessee cover. Thank you, Josh Heupel. You made me some money, baby. And so I'm very, very, very appreciative of Josh Heupel for doing that.
Okay, if you're betting on Division II teams, along with betting on preseason NFL football, and arguably some regular season baseball games, you have a problem. But we'll delve into that later on some other show with Caleb. Go ahead and click the like and subscribe button. That way we're able to bring more points, more people into the program, and we greatly appreciate that. So Tennessee looking very, very dominant today. And I want to start. We're going to get to takeaways, turning points, torchbearers, and report card. But I want to start today, Caleb, if I can, with this Tennessee offense will be better than last year's offense for a couple of different reasons. And I wrote this in my column, which, if it's not up already, is about to go on offthehooksports.com. Number one, they have better quarterback play. I pointed that out last year. I think Joey Aguilar, not just the off-field distractions, I think that he is a better quarterback in terms of his processing speed, ability to be comfortable in the pocket, know where to go with the ball, take his shots, and not check down too quickly. That's all just football stuff. I'm not going to get into Big Nick and all those issues. The other thing that I would like to add is that Tennessee's offensive line seemingly has hit a point, and I know we're talking about Syracuse and ETSU, so things could change in a week. There's no question about it. But right now, I get the feeling that it feels a little Fulmer-esque, where they're plugging guys in. I think we had questions about what Josh Heupel was going to build on offense. Inherited Darnell Wright, to a great player. Same could be said for Cooper Mays. So he's not only developing them, but he's getting some pretty good ones too. I think for the most part, considering you got 4 out of 5 new starters, that pass protection has been extremely good. And in the short yardage downs, Tennessee is able to push some people around. I didn't think that would be the case. Now, you say Dylan Sampson is gone. Automatically, Caleb, that should be a step down at the running back position, right?
You would think, and I said that was a concern going into the year. I was wrong.
Agreed. I don't know that it is. I don't know that I wouldn't rather have – I still think that Peyton Lewis is going to be much better than what we've seen to this point. But I think you would much rather have 3 B to B plus guys than maybe 1 A guy. And I don't think that Dylan Sampson was an A plus guy, but he was clearly an A to A minus guy somewhere in there. We're going to get to Boo, Steve, and work with me. So I'm sticking with the offense here for just a moment because the defense could have started me and Caleb, and the other 9 guys could have shut things down for the Bucs. So sticking with the offense, the receivers going into last year, Boo McCoy was supposed to be a superstar. He was incredibly talented. We know what the injuries did to him. Squirrel White may have had his eye towards Tallahassee early and never really got in the flow of this offense. I don't think they were really sure that could be a coaching issue with what they were going to do at the slot. And then on the outside, Dante Thornton was the guy. It seemed really simple that he was the guy that was going to be able to stretch defenses. He was injured, had issues. So I look at these group of receivers. I think they're every bit as good, especially with the Brew McCoy injury. He lacked explosiveness. This offense, I don't care if they've got a 5-star quarterback or not, will be better by the end of the season, if they're not already, than last year's offense. Last year's offense would sputter. Again, we're talking about ETSU and we're talking about Syracuse. So in a week from now, if Georgia shuts them out, I'm dead wrong. But I believe firmly that this offense will be significantly better than last year. And that's without a 5-star prospect at quarterback. That's without the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. I see signs that this program is growing in a lot of different ways. Excuse me. In a lot of different ways. And I think that's very impressive and much more impressive than just a star player here or a star player there. What do you think, Caleb?
No, I agree. Dave, lay off the cigs, man.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm fighting a cold. I apologize for that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, and it is just ETSU, but between ETSU and Syracuse, because we have a sample size of how they played last year versus an SES school versus this year. Not much difference, but when you throw in the Syracuse game, look, they blew out NC State last year, but they didn't blow it out because Nico was lighting up the scoreboard through the air. And I think that's what's really standing out about this team this year is they're lighting up the scoreboard in a much more balanced way. They don't have to rely as much on the running game. And I'm with you. I mean, the biggest question, and we'll talk about this a little bit and know more later, is how good's the offensive line going to look when they actually face a real defensive line? Because again, ETSU is air, and a lot of people don't realize this, but Syracuse is air up front too. That's kind of the phrase I use. So with that in mind, I would say, look, yes, I think the offense is significantly better. The biggest question I still have with them is that offensive line. We need to see how the offensive line is going to look when they face Georgia with 4 new starters. But again, the offensive line also, David Sanders Jr. hasn't played yet. So it could, there's another level. I don't think you want your first start as a true freshman to be against Georgia, but hey, it's a good start.
Well, Casey Clausen's first start was against Alabama on the road. So there you go. Let me throw this out at you. There were a couple of whoa Nellies I had earlier in the season. And one was the quarterback position. I've stated before, if you listen to the show this week, please hit the like and subscribe button, please. Right now, take a second. We appreciate it. I think I was wrong on that. The other position that I had a question mark about was, I think the narrative for some people was Star Thomas was just going to step in and do a fantastic job because nobody expected Bishop to be the every down back. Now I'm not sure that Bishop can't be an every down back. Star Thomas is a great answer. And then you have Peyton Lewis, who can also be a fantastic answer. And I'm just going to tell you guys, you heard it here first. The ceiling is there for Peyton Lewis. He's not of the same ilk of Jamal Lewis, where you have to get him on the field, because Jamal Lewis was like a generational back. He's only one of 7 quarterbacks that ran, or 7 running backs that ran for 2,000 yards in the NFL. You absolutely had to get him on the field. So I don't think he's of that ilk, but he's just a notch behind it. So don't be surprised if Peyton Lewis at some point in a month or so takes control of the main tailback situation. That's what I'm hearing. Don't be surprised by that at all. But right now, he looks good. And Star Thomas is going to fend him off. There's no question about it. Now, the other question I had is Boo Carter. And this is, we're going to lead into this. A lot of people have commented this on the message board. Your thoughts on Boo Carter, Caleb? Because, listen, I covered him or knew of him when he was a sophomore in high school. The guy had attitude issues. That's not the end of the world. I know a lot of great players that have had attitude issues. It's not a personal knock at him whatsoever. But ultimately, it looks as if he's put those aside. He looks very comfortable playing football, but in particular playing defense in that nickel position. We haven't seen him do much on offense. I kind of thought that was silly talk at the time. But we've seen him be comfortable. And for those that don't know, remind everybody of his offseason issues, because he's the type of guy that burns red hot. He's the type of guy that could make everybody mad, end up back in Chattanooga for a fall until he finds a new place to land. And that was closer to happening than most Tennessee fans want to admit.
Yes, it is, and it's one of my major takeaways. Let's go ahead and dive in with my takeaways. I'll lead with Boo Carter because that's actually a big one that I wanted to get to right off the top. So, starting with 5 takeaways from Tennessee's win over ETSU, Boo Carter showed his value. Boo Carter, for those who remember, was flirting with the transfer. One, there was the rumor that he was going to flip to Colorado when he was on the recruiting trail. There was the rumor that he was going to transfer last year, and he was holding out for more money, wanted to get involved in offense, worked more with the offense in the spring. Then it came out that in the summer he ghosted his agent, got a new one, and that he was ghosting his team and not showing up to meetings. At the start of fall camp, there was a big team meeting on whether or not to let Boo Carter back on the team. Josh Heupel and enough of the players decided, yes, let's let him back on the team. The Leadership Council of Tennessee, which is player-led, Arian Carter most notably, pretty much took the initiative to say, fine, he can be back on the team, but he should have to do certain things to get back into the rotation. He's done those certain things, and the first takeaway from this game is Boo Carter showed his value because, look, there's different sets of rules for better players. That's just how life works. Boo Carter had punt returns of 40, 34, and 16 yards. The longer ones set up touchdowns. The 16-yard return set up a field goal, and after struggling in the opener, he was much better at the star position on defense. So he showed
I want to say 2 things about that. One, he's going against dudes that are closer to you and me than the guys he plays with, right, at ETSU.
Right.
So he has an opportunity to look better against those type of players. But it's his patience running the football. And you remember Eric Berry on fumble returns? That's who I'm starting to compare him to. On interception returns, when he didn't get the ball a lot on offense, but when Eric Berry had the ball in his hands, there was a patience. Things happened slower for him. I don't care how fast you are. I don't care how fast Dante Thornton was. I don't care how fast Alvin Harper was. There's some guys it happens slower for. There's a patience there. He has that. You can't teach it. There were a couple times where he just basically stopped in the middle of a punt return, let the play develop around him. That's special sort of stuff. That doesn't happen with very many players. I could make an argument right now, and I might write a column about it, that based off the eye test, Boo Carter is the most talented player on the team. And that's also the neck up and the way he processes things quickly in time. So obviously that's ambiguous, and it's tough to put a finger on. But I'll just tell you, he looks to me like the one guy, if anybody is an NFL player, if he had to be on a team tomorrow.
Right. I totally agree. Boo Carter's exactly that. And he looks like he's ready. And just his athleticism stands out, like, totally. I wanted to transition also because the other big takeaway actually is a lot about your column, which is one of the reasons I think the offense is better, Dave, is that the passing game looks different. We haven't talked about that enough because the passing game, it's not just that Joey Aguilar is better at throwing the deep ball, that the receivers are better. Even better than Hendon Hooker, this is the first time I've seen Joey Aguilar throw the ball up to let his receivers make plays. Wouldn't you agree? Or how seeing a Tennessee quarterback do that?
Totally agree. And let me piggyback on that. I thought you were going to go in this direction. I see, excuse me. I see more slant patterns. I see more things over the middle too. Now, I don't know if that's because Josh Heupel either said, hey, I got to get back to my roots. I've got to attack the whole field. Or he thought last year that Nico and Joe Milton the year before couldn't do it. Whatever the case is, you feel like the whole field is being attacked, where there were times last year I just thought they chose not to throw over the middle for whatever reason.
Yes, totally agree. And I think it's the lack of comfortability with Nico Iamaleava and Joe Milton in throwing over the middle. They didn't trust their receivers to make plays. They're throwing over the middle more. They're doing it more, you're right, with the slants than they even were with Hendon Hooker. And Hooker never just threw jump balls to players. And I think Aguilar is very content to do that. We know the 53-yard pass to Mike Matthews that was for a touchdown. And I think that's what's going to make this a lot more fun to talk about.
I don't think Hendon Hooker had to throw jump balls a lot because the guys were a little bit more open and he had great touch. I think he would have, but I just don't think he had to. I think he dropped dimes in there that didn't need to be jump balls. Going back to your earlier point, General Ursa says, are we going to see Boo on offense next week? All right. I'm going back on my word. I thought that was a silly thing to do, but I would make the debut against Georgia with Boo Carter on the field. I would do something special with him. Call it the Boo gun, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. I would do something special because Tennessee's closer to Georgia. As you pointed out, they can win that game last week, but they're not so close where you want to go out and just play straight up and hope for the best. Agreed?
Totally agree. I totally agree. And so that's a very, very good point. And moving on to another takeaway, I want to go to just one last thing about the offense. I will say I think the running backs are better than the blocking. And what I mean by that is I think the interior offensive line has shown a decent bit. But look, there was that bad snap by Sam Pendleton. You're always worried about that with the new center that resulted in a fumble.
That to me was Josh Heupel getting ahead of himself. He wanted one more play before the 2-minute warning. I thought that was silly. I thought he was pushing his guys. I'll disagree with you there, but not strongly. I think it's the push by the offensive line and the running backs about 50-50. So if you wanted to talk me into 60-40 running backs, you could. But these running backs run incredibly hard.
They run hard, particularly Bishop and Star Thomas. I think Star Thomas right now is the most complete back. If Peyton Lewis starts to run harder, he'll turn into that. But Star Thomas is the most complete. On the defensive side, with the biggest takeaways, Dave, no Jermon McCoy or Ricky Gibson III, but I thought the back seven was still, by and large, elite. Outside of that scripted drive by Will Healy in the start of the third quarter, the starting back seven was pretty elite throughout the day. And they look like they're very, very good.
Can I abstain because it's ETSU? I mean, I don't know. Without Ricky Gibson and Jermod McCoy, what do they look like against a Georgia or an Alabama or even South Carolina or that sort of team? I don't know. I'm going to abstain for that one. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just I think those are significant losses. They just haven't shown up to this point.
That's fair. That's fair. There is one way we can look at this, though, and this is my final takeaway from the game, which is that the second team defense looks concerning. When they put the second teamers out there's a depth issue on this team on defense this year. I mean, they're already banged up. David Hobbs hurt, Jackson Moy hurt, Gibson, McCoy, we talked about it. That was a pretty, like, ETSU marched down the field on them on that touchdown drive in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going to disagree with you here. I think you could say that for 99% of the teams in the nation, because if a guy's not playing, he's going to transfer with NIL money.
Yeah, NIL and transfer portal may have changed that. I can give you that. I can give you that.
Do you know why I think the Dallas Cowboys of the early 90s are one of the best teams? I would only say the 85 Chicago Bears would compare with them. The reason I believe that is because free agency came along in 93. And so they had guys that were second stringers that won a Super Bowl in 95 because they couldn't get on the field, but they were tied to their contracts and they couldn't get out. So I don't think you're going to see a situation where Alabama, loses a Jalen Hurts and sticks in a what was his name all of a sudden? The kid that went to Carolina.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Or Tua. Yeah. I don't think you're going to see that anymore. I think those days are over. I think Tua is going to be at Wyoming or somewhere else because he couldn't get on the field. So I agree with you that the depth isn't as good, but I think that's going to be the case across the board.
All right. Yes, I agree. Cowboys free agency, not just free agency, no salary cap. So Jerry Jones could just buy whoever he wanted to during that time.
Right. But you look back and they had guys, and I could name them and bore you to death, and I won't do it. But I mean, there were guys that won a Super Bowl for Barry Switzer in 95 that literally could not get on the field when they won their previous Super Bowl in 93. I mean, it was ridiculous. The guys that I knew because I was a diehard Cowboys fan and I knew their second and third string, I was like, these dudes are winning Super Bowls. But in order to have that, you have to have them locked in, which you don't have that in college football anymore. And you have to be a great talent evaluator, which I actually think Josh Heupel is, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if somebody's standing behind Boo Carter, let's call him Woo Bobby or whatever the case may be, he's not going to sit there and wait for 3 years to play.
No, I agree. That's not going to happen anymore. I want to move real quick. Let's go to turning points. You cool with that in the game? So a few turning points, and I want to know what your thoughts are. I got about 5 of them. It was, guys, there was no real turning points. Tennessee was going to win this game, but this made sure it was this made sure it was broken open. So my first turning point, first play of the game, Dave, 50-yard run by Deshaun Bishop. It's okay. It's not Peyton Manning to Joey Kent against Alabama in 1995, but that did have an impact.
No, and I think you want to stomp on somebody's neck that you're way better than earlier. If you don't, then they hang around, and that's bad news. So, Tennessee was able to stomp on their neck. It's what you expect them to do. If this is a 10-point game going into the second half, it almost feels like a loss, even if you end up winning it.
It's like that Austin Peay game was a few years ago. Remember with Joe Milton, and they had to do a team meeting? Yeah, exactly. So. Next turning point.
Those team meetings, by the way, they don't accomplish a damn thing. You go in there and you have this team meeting, especially if there are no coaches there. You go in with one problem, you come out with 18 problems. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Next turning point is 3 plays later, Joey Aguilar's touchdown pass to Chris Brazzell. Another part that's underrated, Dave, is you don't want that drive to end in a field goal. Like, you want that drive to end in a touchdown, because if it ends in a field goal, then you've got a, I don't know, when you're playing an FCS school, it just doesn't feel good when you end a drive in a field goal. Does that make sense?
Yep. Completely agree.
Yep. That's my next turning point. Now, my third one, it's the Boo Carter punt return. What a lot of people forget, the first one, the 34.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say which one. He looked like he was about to break 3.
Yeah, the 34-yard one. I guess his second one that set up the touchdown the first time, a 34-yarder. Tennessee had a field goal on the previous drive. They were only up 10-0, and you felt that maybe the offense was stalling a bit. And then Boo Carter does that, and I think that really got things going in a big way for that. So that's my third turning point of the game. I mean, Boo Carter just totally changed it.
And I just want to say this again. the stop factor. 99 times out of 100, if a football player stops, he gets hammered. He gets killed. Okay. Some players that they process the game so quickly that they can just stop, wait a second, decide where I'm going to go. That's Boo Carter. I'm talking about that's the same sort of trait that Barry Sanders had. And I'm not just, throwing out these incredibly hyperbolic comparisons, but they're out there. Guys, stop, chill, and then go. That's not taught. That's a good way to get killed. But Boo Carter doesn't get killed because he's got the up and go when he does decide to go. He's more of a, in my mind, he was a special player last year. He is an immensely special player last year. I'll go on record and say he's a top 10 pick in the NFL.
Yeah, I could get with that. So my third one, Boo Carter's, not Boo Carter, my fourth turning point, Joshua Joseph sack. If you remember, Dave, this was key. Yes, Boo Carter gets a 34-yard punt return. It's 17-0. Tennessee gets the ball back, but then they're forced to punt. That was a problem because they weren't able to break the game open. And you're like, if ETSU just does one decent drive, it's a 2-score game in the second quarter, and you don't want that. But Joshua Joseph then sacks Jacoby Criswell. That sets up my final turning point of the game, in which it sets up the punt in which Boo Carter had his 40-yard punt return to create a 5-yard touchdown drive. By that point, Tennessee's up 24-0 in the first quarter, and this game is over.
Yeah, a couple of notes. I want to go to the message board along those lines. Elias says Boo is just saying there is a reason I was locked in on Boo despite the negatives. You should be. Here's another great example that Elias brings up. Dion would stop at times. It felt like at times that he stopped in the middle of the field and had tea and crumpets before he decided to take off with his 4.18 speed. So that to me is another guy. I'm trying to think of more guys that kind of had that ability. And Big Ronnie says Bill will win us a game this season. That would not surprise me. That would not surprise me at all.
No, I totally agree. All right, so moving on, our torchbearers, the top 5 players in the game.
That's hot.
Who are the torchbearers? I'm going to go first off with the guy we just talked about, Boo Carter. I mean, who else, right? I mean, just in the return game alone, Boo's a torchbearer, isn't he?
Yeah, and you really don't even see how much that he does on defense. I know he had the hard hit on the quarterback at one point. That definitely got his attention, the ETSU quarterback. But also, how good was he in coverage? I bet damn good.
Oh, yeah. He was much better than he was last week. It was ETSU, but you're right, much, much better. But he definitely earns a torchbearer. My other torchbearer, Joshua Josephs. He came away with that sack. I think that was a big deal, that sack that stopped any chance of ETSU getting any momentum. I don't think Joshua Josephs is James Pierce, but he did have that sack, and he deflected a pass, so he was good as an edge rusher when he was in the game.
Hey, let me ask you this. Let me get sidetracked based off that point. Who were Tennessee's last 4 games last year?
Ohio State, Georgia.
Ohio State.
Well,
first 4 games.
First 4 games. Okay, you said okay. First 4 games were Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State, and Oklahoma.
Okay. So Oklahoma, you couldn't really dog it. NC State, you couldn't dog it. I believe Syracuse and ETSU, you couldn't dog it. What are the chances that Jackson Moy, that David Sanders Jr., there are a couple of other guys that I'm missing, are being held out for precautionary reasons? In other words, if the Super Bowl was Saturday in Neyland Stadium against ETSU, they're running out there. I don't want to provide insight because I don't get the same injury information that I used to, but I just wonder if it were all on the line, if it were a national championship game, I bet they'd all be out there.
Oh, I think they would too, except for except for Ricky Gibson, who's out for a quote extended period of time. But yes, Jackson Boyd, right. David Sanders, they'd be ready to go. So I totally agree with you on that. My other torchbearer, I want to know what your thoughts are on this, Dave, but I think Star Thomas is the best of the running backs. I get the 50-yard run by Bishop, but Star Thomas was the best to date with 3 touchdowns, 69 yards on 12 carries. He just looks like he's more experienced as a running back than anybody else.
I totally agree. And I think Peyton Lewis will be better long-term. But I think right now that Star Thomas understands leverage. I think Star Thomas also sees holes. I think he sees small creases. I think he maximizes runs as well as honestly anybody that I've seen this year. And I not just Tennessee, but anybody. I think he turns a 6-yard run into an 8-yard run, an 8-yard run into a 10-yard run. So I agree. I still am higher on Peyton Lewis long term, but right now, and this may hold to be true forever and ever and ever, amen, Star Thomas is your key player.
1,000%. All right. Moving on, the other torchbearer for me, Chris Brazel. I mean, I guess you could do a duo torchbearer of Chris Brazel and Mike Matthews, but Chris Brazel, because Mike Matthews did have that epic catch, but Chris Brazel had 9 catches for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't remember the last time a receiver had 9 catches in a game for Tennessee. Do you?
I don't, and Chris Brazel looks leaner to me this year.
He
Like
does.
not that he was a fat guy, but sometimes you can add muscle and lose a little bit of fat and look quicker. He looks quicker to me. He looks shiftier, and he doesn't look quite as big. There were times last year I wondered, how big are you? And this year I don't have that concern. He looks like a lean, elite receiver, and I think you'll continue to see that.
Totally agree. Next torchbearer is, and the final one for me is Joey Aguilar. He missed a couple of throws, but I just love. I don't remember the last time I saw a Tennessee quarterback have this type of moxie. I mean, you're right. Maybe Casey Clausen is the one, but like I love this moxie by Joey Aguilar. I got to be honest, I love it. And again, 288 yards in the first half, pretty impressive. Joey Aguilar is the top torchbearer.
I agree. I don't think he has the same physical ability as Casey Clausen. I think, though, that Joey Aguilar, like Casey Clausen, will be very, very good on the road. And to me, he reminds me of a stronger armed out Andy Kelly. That came up during the show last week. So I like that comparison a lot. I don't think he's going to make mistakes. Aside from the game at Notre Dame where Andy Kelly threw an interception that cost him the game. But other than that, Andy Kelly didn't cost Tennessee any games. I don't think Joey Aguilar is going to cost Tennessee any games. And if he does, I mean, he's got a lot on him. He's a quarterback. That happens. Every quarterback costs their team a game at some point, but I just don't see that. And I see him rolling into opposing territories and not being overhyped. And that is a Casey Clausen quality, because there were people that said, oh, he's just too cool. He's got marbles in his mouth and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, his willingness to not get shaken, his demeanor was the reason they were able to win big-time games on the road. And he's Tennessee's best road quarterback of all time.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you on that fully. And you can see the same from Joey Aguilar. So I want to do this one in real time with you. We'll go through our report card, and I'm just going to give a grade, and you tell me if and let's see if we agree and come to an agreement or not. So let's start with quarterback. I think quarterback is an A-. Can't go A+, missed a couple of throws, but I think quarterback's A-. What about you?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
I would agree with that. I'm good with A-. If you'd gone A, I would have been fine with that as well.
All right. Running back. Dave, I might go A+. I love the way. No, I'm going to go A+. I love the way they ran in this game.
I got no problem with that. Cooper, what do you say?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Yep, Cooper Grace, A+.
Yep. All righty. And wide receivers. Can I go A+ again?
Well, it's ETSU, so yes, you can go A+ again.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
You go, Coop.
So he's going to say like and subscribe every time you agree with me?
Yes.
And if you don't agree with me, is he going to say cancel the show? It sucks. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm just going to give you your address, and he's going to come up and beat the hell out of you.
All right, so tight ends, A. I mean, A again for tight ends. What am I supposed to say? They scored 70 points. A for tight ends.
Yeah, Kitzelman had a drop, right?
That's true. How about B+?
Yeah, I'd go B+ on that one.
Yes. All right. That's a great point. All right, offensive line. Just with that fumble, I get you're saying hypo going too crazy, but I gotta just go B- with offensive line.
I'd go B even, but I don't have a problem with B-. If you turn the ball over that right before halftime against a Georgia or an upper level opponent, you're probably gonna lose.
Yep, totally agree. All right, on defensive line, A-. No, I'm not B. They let them run it a little too well sometimes on the defensive line. I know they were hurt, but I'm going to go B.
Considering the injuries, if you put it on a curve, it's A-, but B is fine. Coop, what do you say?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop. All right.
Alrighty. Next up is edge rushers. Joshua Josephs had a sack, had a pass deflection. I thought they were pretty good around the edge. Caleb Herring played well. I'm going to go A for edge rushers.
Okay, but I am going to bring this out. You told me that Jordan Ross was going to be a superstar.
Yeah. Okay. He has not proven me right on that yet. He will. He's just biding his time.
I actually saw some flashes in Syracuse that made me think of you, so I'm not ruling that out. What grade did you go with?
I went with A.
I'll go B. I wouldn't quite go that high, but I think with the upside, they could be a regular A contributor once they get a little healthier up front.
Yes, I totally agree. All right, going on linebackers. I got to go B-. I thought they got beat a couple of times. Arian Carter got beat on a play. I love Arian Carter, but it was a scripted play by Will Healy, but I'm going to go B- just because of coverage.
Yeah, I think that Arian Carter is really close to needing to grow himself into a 3-4 pass rusher because his pass protection is not getting much better. And I'm not talking about at Tennessee. I'm talking about I'm talking about it. What did I say?
Pass protection.
Yeah, no, pass coverage. I'm not saying at Tennessee, but I think if I'm an agent, I'm looking at him and saying, what does he weigh? Like 240? You might look that up for me. That maybe you need to get to 265-ish and be an edge rusher in a 3-4 type of defense. It would limit where he could go in the NFL, but I got some questions about him flipping his hips into pass coverage. I'm just not real comfortable with that.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop.
All right, defensive backs. B- just because of the second team, the way they let them go down the field on that final play. That's the only reason they get a B-.
Okay, I'm still going to give him an A. I just think it is what it is. But I understand where you're coming from. You're grading by the curve. Let me throw this in. Elias wanted to say who is the best tailback to you two. I said earlier, I think it's Peyton Lewis long term, but I think it's Star Thomas right now. Don't sell him short.
Yep, Peyton Lewis long term, Star Thomas right now. Totally agree. Final grades real quick. Kicking A+, not much of an impact, but still A+. Didn't have any misses. Punting A, and return game A+++++++.
No, I'm down with that. Let me add one other thing because some people are commenting on the Florida game.
That was the easy under for me.
And I know people commented last week on the Alabama game. Let me go ahead and tell you something. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama got a peach job. He had leverage, so he got a huge buyout so that he couldn't get fired. And then you have Billy Napier. Same thing happened there. So he got a huge buyout. Oftentimes there's enough talent to get you through a year or two. But mark my words, Napier and Kalen DeBoer will get fired. It's a matter of time, and they will be replaced by a better coach. You don't step into those positions. In Alabama's case, a legend in front of him. In Florida's case, they have a legendary history with Urban Meyer and Steven Spurrier. You don't step into those situations and expect to have success early just because you have some talent and that continue. It's the way you run a program. And I'm here to tell you, both of those programs not only have that issue, but it was the same thing with Butch Jones. Butch Jones came in and he was going to have success for a year or two and then he was done. But I will tell you that with Florida and Alabama, you're going to see them fall quickly and you're going to see them have a new coach. Agree or disagree, Caleb?
I agree with Napier. I'm still holding out with DeBoer because I believe in him, but it was a bad start last weekend. So I will say that.
All right. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Florida Lincoln studio. Have an absolutely blessed weekend, everyone. Go Cowboys. They can't lose on Saturday because they already lost. So it's a good Sunday for me. For Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports. Thank you. And again, glad to be back. I appreciate your support. We'll see you Monday at 10